Hello and welcome to Art Time with Miss Anderson. And here's a little demo for you guys on how to watercolor your background. As you can see, I'm using our oh so fun trick that we watched in our practice video, which is to start by painting with water. Here, the very much important part is that you are not going to paint the tree with water. You are going to paint around the edges of the tree. And in just a minute, we'll see why the magic is going to happen here with the watercolor. You do have to do this kind of speedily. Now, granted, my video is sped up a bit, but the reason you have to do it quickly is because otherwise the water will dry. And here it is, barely touching your brush to the page. The watercolor spreads and the water is doing the mixing work, it's doing the blending work, the flowing work. Notice, notice that my brush is just dabbing onto the water and I'm constantly going back into my colors. I'm actually dipping my brush in two different colors, not even bothering to mix them ahead of time, knowing that once I dab them onto the page, that the water is going to do the work for me. Here I'm coming in and painting all the little ins and outs in between the trees, and it's okay if a little bit gets on it. That's okay. We mostly want the tree itself, that beautiful trunk that you guys spent so much time drawing, to remain white. We're using positive and negative space here. The trick to making this kind of pop is making it so that you add a darker color closer to where the tree is. So right around the edges of it. And then let that water just kind of fade it out. And here I'm just going through, I've already experimented with my little miniature watercolor pieces, and I've already kind of decided exactly how I want it to go. So if here I come in, I'm taking my darker color, and for that could be purple, that could be blue. If you're using yellows and oranges and reds, then it would be red would be the darkest. Here I'm using black, turquoise, and blue. I got some splatter on it, that's okay. But if you'll notice how that darker color is blending with the one outside of it, but it's also making the tree seem as though it's just popping out from the background. Now, this is a technique you can really do with any media, actually. It just calls that you do a fade, or what you guys might know as an ombre, from a darker color to a lighter color. And I'm just going to speed it up a little bit here as I work all the little ins and outs of the background, taking my time, but also working quickly. Here is the final product. I've concentrated on underneath, and now coming in, I do want to fill the whole page. So even though my top half is going to be covered in leaves, I am going to do some watercolor background on my top half. Now, I wanted my top to look a little bit different than the rest of my background, and I wanted it to be a little bit more blended. So this is up to you and your creative process. Remembering that for this project, we're expressing our feelings about everything that has been going on in the world through 2020, the beginning of 2021. What's on your mind? Is it been COVID, thinking about being with your family, wondering about going back to school? My background, I wanted to represent sort of the dark, ominous cloud of not knowing. And then my leaves are going to be brighter colors and evolve words and concepts as well. So getting down that really beautiful backdrop for your tree, fading from dark to light using that ombre fade, using the color as a way to express the observation of what your feelings and your emotions are right now during this time about Black Lives Matter, about the election, about COVID, about being with your family, or just interpersonally what you've learned and think about yourself.